Folks, the condo inventory people hate is about to get worse. I'll get into that, and then the latest home prices and insights for condos for the GTA for week ending October 30th, 2024. We've talked about at length about the size of the condos today, smaller and smaller to make them less expensive because investors were the majority of purchasers. Investors were buying. Their whole plan was to rent them out. It was never to live in there. So the investor looked at it with the attitude of, how can I spend as little as possible? And instead of buying one, maybe buy two. And that was the condo purchaser. It was the investor who bought more condos than the end user. So condo builders, developers, catered to the investor. The building would go up for sale and boom, sold out sometimes in a matter of hours, but in a day or two it would all be sold out. Developer's happy, the investor's happy, the end user is picking from properties or condos that really it's hard to live in it, but that's what's available and that's what they bought. Part of that decision to buy for as little as possible was buying a condo with no locker and no parking. That may be okay for an investor to purchase. I still think it's not, because who are you putting in there, and how do you make your condo more attractive, maybe even get a little bit more rent? I would expect there to be a locker. I would expect there to be parking. Even if you're on the subway line, like if you don't have a car, and maybe it's just me looking at it from my point of view, but if everything revolves around you being on the subway line, there's only a few condos out of all the condos available for sale that actually qualify for that. We're going to get back to the cars and the parking in a second. What about the locker? Like, these condos are so small. I've been with buyers looking at some of these condos that have no locker. And they say, my clients will look at the closets and say, well, where do we put like our winter clothes, our summer clothes? How do you switch them up? What if you have some kind of decoration for the season, Christmas season, for example? Where do you put your stuff when it's off season? These condos are too small to store anything in there. Even just your luggage. You put your luggage in one of these closets in the condos, the closet is full just with luggage. So condo investors didn't care. But now the majority of condo buyers are end users. They care. So yeah, we've talked about the size already. Not having a locker is a big negative to end users. Not having a parking space, even if you don't have a car now when you purchase, is a big negative to end users. I've helped people buy condos. They currently, at the time of buying their condo, do not own a car, but their plan is to buy a car. They first want to get into the condo because they're saving all their money it's an entry-level home purchase for them. But once they're settled in, their plan is to get a car because their whole life is not just along the subway line. And there's many condos where you can't walk to the grocery store. You're going to be taking Uber every time you want to do something. Yeah, some people live like that. But end users, not always. Especially if they're trying to get a family going. Like, how do you just do everything in an Uber and your groceries? And what if you want to visit family and friends? Is it always on the subway, taking a bus? No, you want to get in your car and go somewhere. I could understand it more downtown, not having, but especially if you're on a subway line, you could, within a few blocks, you can get everywhere. But let's look at York Region. Yeah, let's look at Vaughan. There's a subway there. There's few condos right around the subway, but that's just to get to work or to get downtown. What if you want to go grocery shopping? What if you want to do something else? What if you want to visit your family, visit your parents? Like, a car is an essential part of a lot of our lives. And I just see no locker, no car as a big negative. And the reason I say it's a bigger problem is because the condos that are coming online, the projects that are going to be finished in 2025, so next year and the year after, these projects were purchased a few years ago at the height of condomania. They were there's thousands and thousands of these purchased by investors that are coming online next year and the year after. They do not have lockers and parking. And it never used to be like that. There used to be a time where you bought a condo, yeah, it had a locker, had a parking. It was normal. But as more and more investors got involved, that started to slip away. There are buildings you'll look at. I'm looking at condo properties for my clients, and I'm always looking, is there lockers, is there parking? There's some buildings, every unit has parking, locker, it just makes sense. And then there's other buildings, more the newer buildings, it's the opposite. It's few and far between actually have parking and locker. There are 2-bedroom units out there, 2 bedrooms. 600 square feet, 700 square feet. So it's already small to have 2 bedrooms. And they don't even have a locker and a parking. Like, where do people put their stuff? And if it's 2 bedrooms, you're looking at professionals living there maybe, or a young couple and maybe they have a child. Like, what do they do if they don't have a locker? What do they do if they don't have a car? Well, they don't buy. That's why these units are sitting there. And this is the problem that I'm talking about, is going to be getting worse and worse in the coming years, because there are thousands of these that were purchased that way without parking and locker at the height of condomania a few years ago, that are just going to be coming in online this coming year and the next year. Let me know what you think about that in the comments below. If you feel this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. There's a link up here, another one below this video in the description. Click on that. It's a link to my calendar. Book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. Folks, this show is about condo apartments, but check out at the end of this video, there'll be a link on the screen to a really nice condo townhouse we have for sale. Here we go. We're going to be focused on, like I said, condo apartments for the City of Toronto, for York Region, and for Peel Region. Now, from one week to the next, from October 23rd to the week we're in now, October 30th, average prices for each of these regions came down when it comes to condo apartments. We're going to get started with the City of Toronto. For week ending October 30th, 198 condo apartments were sold. 18 of those were at $1 million or more. And I've put a box here since the week ending September 25th, so the end of September to now. Sales have been up and down. Overall, I think it's kind of flat. It averages out. So around 190 to 200 seems to be about the norm. We had 1 week here, the Thanksgiving weekend, that's a little bit lower, but we're around 190 to 200 so far for the last 6 weeks when it comes to condo sales. So that's pretty flat. Average price is currently $684,000. When I look at average prices from this perspective, kind of seems flat. Yes, they're up and they're down on a weekly basis, but overall, I think it kind of averages it out from my perspective of prices haven't changed much over the fall period. Now, earlier this year, when we started the year, average prices for condo was up to the mid 780, to the mid 7, to the high 700s. And overall, it's been coming down since then to the end of August, and for the fall market, been kind of flat, basically. Compared to last year, 684, is 6% lower than where we were this time a year ago. The median price is 5% lower. The median price is $630,000. Now, the dotted line, that's a 4-week moving average. When we look at the median price, it's kind of flat, actually, kind of what I was saying earlier. But when we look at the average price and we take the 4-week moving average, kind of looks like the average prices are creeping up a little bit. So the 4-week moving average is just one way of looking at it. The regular average is another way of looking at it. So you kind of look at all that and try to figure out what makes more sense to you as far as which way the market is going. So I would say for condo apartments, for the city of Toronto, it's either flat or creeping up a little bit. 198 were sold, 24% of those sold at list price or more. Listings, 683 were listed. Now, for the last couple of weeks, listings are up, but overall, way down from when we started the fall market where we listed almost 1,100. We're now at 683. Active listings has been coming down slightly, not by a lot, but overall trending down. There are, although there's still a lot, there's 5,125 condos for sale. And remember, I'm going back now, 198 were sold, but there's 5,125 available for sale. So there's a big difference there. But overall, what's available for sale is shrinking slightly. 6 months of inventory is what we're looking at. So pretty much in a buyer's market category. We say between 3 to 5 months would be a balanced market. Well, we're sitting at 6 months of inventory right now for condo apartments just for the city of Toronto. But that's the whole city. Here's the city broken down into 9 different sections. If we say the whole city averages out to 6 months of inventory, some areas are outperforming other areas. Scarborough has 4.7 months of inventory. Etobicoke, 4.4 months of inventory. What else here? Let's look at the downtown core. Well, uptown here, 4.8 months of inventory. Midtown, 5.4. Downtown is 8.9 months of inventory. So the whole city is averaging at 6. Downtown is almost 9 months of inventory. Downtown, there's 1,805 available for sale, active listings, so 2.6% sold. In contrast, Etobicoke, 530 active listings, 5.3% of those listings sold during the week. Uptown, 712 active listings, 4.8% sold. So as far as what's available for sale, or when you look at the sales, you might think downtown, wow, there's 47 sales. But overall, only 2.6% of all those condos available for sale actually sold during the week. Here's York Region condos. 44 were sold for week ending October 30th. One of those was at $1 million or more. 44 seems to be about the average, maybe a little bit on the high, but it could be 41, 42, 43, 44 is about the average of sales on a weekly basis in York Region. Average price seems to be trending down over the last 4, 5, 6 weeks, but is now at $630,000. Excuse me. $630,000 is 4% lower year over year. The median price is the same. It's 0% average. I got an arrow there because it rounds to 0%. It might be 0.3% higher, something like that. When we look at the dotted line, the 4-week moving average, both average price and median price seem to be trending down. 44 were sold. Very few, 14% sold at list price or more. And listings are up from the previous week. 151 condos were listed. Active listings, 926. Not a lot of change over the previous 5 or 6 weeks. Months of inventory, also not a lot of change. Although we have 1 week here, I believe that's the Thanksgiving weekend where it jumped up to 7.3 because sales were so much lower. But overall, we're sitting now at 4.9. We've been at 5, 5.5, 5.1. I wouldn't say, although 4.9 is the lowest we've seen in about 8 weeks, I wouldn't say months of inventory is trending down. It's a little bit lower than before, but 4.9, 5, 5.1, you're not going to really notice a difference out there. Here's Peel region. 23 condos were sold. One was at $1 million or more. Average price seems to be trending down. It's now $583,000. 583 is 12% lower than where we were this time a year ago. The median price is 8% lower. Both median and average are trending down. 17% sold at list price or more. Active listings, not a lot of change. 133 condos were listed, and months of inventory shot way up there because sales were so low. Shot way up. There's now 8.9 months of inventory. Here's a quick summary. When it comes to condos, pretty much a balanced market or a buyer's market. Many are going to be in a buyer's market category. Now check out the condo townhouse. The link should be on the screen.